Hey, if you don't have a laser engraver, or if you do, and you're looking to figure out some of the other cool stuff that it can do, and maybe some of the accessories that go with it, then this is the video for you. Now, we're going to use this laser engraver to build a super cool project. So make sure you stay tuned to the end of the video for when it's going to be assembled, because your mind is going to be blown as to what this thing is. This is my laser engraver. This is the Creality Falcon 2 Pro 22 watt. Okay, so we're going to start right here. The first thing is it's got this red tinted enclosure, which is great because you don't have to wear the glasses with this being fully enclosed. Now, the other cool part is to access your pieces in here. You can just roll this up, and then you can see it's got this really cool bed that you can either stand up like this, like I've got, or these, you can lift them out and you can actually lay them flat. Now, the other thing is it's got a light on the inside here. So right now it's nice and bright there. And when I close this, that's why it's lit up red. Now, another really cool feature about this machine is it's got under here a little drawer. And this drawer, it pulls out. And if you look here, you can see all of these different chips in here. This is designed, first of all, to stop the laser from going through the bottom. But when it's closed, as you can see, if you look down here, you can see all those little pieces. So all the pieces that you cut, the really small ones, they fall right in between and down to the bottom. This machine is also packed full of safety features as well. So as you can see here and over here, we've got a red light. While this is open, the laser engraver cannot be used. It's got these two little dots here, which are likely magnets. When you close this, these lights now turn blue. That tells you that it's closed, and now the laser engraver is going to work. It has a very similar feature on the drawer. So if we look on the drawer right here, there's two little spots here, which are likely magnets as well. This machine, the laser, will not fire up unless that is closed. Now, herein lies the challenge with these safety features for this machine. So they are absolutely great to have, but what if you want to engrave something that is actually going to be deeper than this drawer down here? If you want to do that, in theory, you've got to be able to pull the drawer out, and you have to have the laser still function. So while it's not always going to be recommended, if you look right here, you'll see that there's kind of at the top, there's two blue buttons there. And this is just inside, just below the light beam. So those two buttons are actually buttons that will disable the sensors on the lid, and the other one will disable the sensor on the drawer. Now, disabling the sensors is not something that I would typically recommend. But with certain accessories that you're going to use with a laser engraver, and I do, you may need to disable those. In addition to that, if you're looking to cut or more likely engrave things that are going to be a little bit deeper than what this tray here is going to allow, then you're going to have to pull that tray out. So that's where the bypass comes in. Now, if you're going to bypass, that's fine. But as soon as you have to leave that lid open, that's where you need to have a pair of these things. Safety first, so that way you make sure that the laser does not get into or anywhere near your eyes. Now let me show you a couple other really cool features. So if you hear that noise, in the back right over there, there's an exhaust fan. And this is phenomenal to have, especially when that is going to be down. So it's not incredibly loud, but if you look over here, that exhaust fan, it vents directly out the side of the machine. And what you can do with this is you can connect a pipe to it or something like that and vent it to an outside source if you want. But one of the things that I have here, and this is something that Creality recently sent to me and is absolutely awesome. If you see this pipe going along here, and this pipe goes down to this box right here. Now this is a Creality fume extractor. So by the time the air gets all the way through this thing and comes out, I believe, underneath at the bottom, there's no smoke left. There's no vapor. There's no chemicals. There's no nothing. So if you're going to use a laser engraver like this indoors, and you're going to need to vent it somewhere, and if you can't reach a window, I would highly recommend getting one of these units here. They're not incredibly expensive, but they are definitely worth the money. All right, so now let's look at a couple of the other features that this thing has before we start putting it to work. Okay, so first of all, let's look at our controls over here. So this is a green light, basically just letting us know that it's active. Okay, we've got a home button, and this is how we can manually move the controls of the laser. This is to frame a project. So when we say frame, that is the laser is going to move and outline where your project is going to be sitting. And if you're using this with a software, that's not something that you're always going to use, because we're actually plugging directly into the computer with a USB-C plug that is located right over here. It actually runs underneath my machine here. And if you look here, you can see I've got actually two USBs connected into my computer. So one of them is for that. But here's another really cool feature. If you look on top, you'll see right here, it says USB camera. And this is something that Creality did with this machine that makes it an absolute game changer. So inside the machine, there's a bar that goes across the top. Okay, so the bar is right here. It's actually what stops this from going back any further. And with this bar, I'm just going to shut the light off here. With this bar, you can see underneath, there's this little rectangular box right there. That is a camera. And what the camera allows us to do is when we connect it over to our computer through the USB, okay, when we connect it over to that computer, it allows us to do two things. We can see real-time footage of the laser actually working and doing what it is that it's supposed to be doing. But in the software, we can actually take a snapshot image of the printing bed. Then we can drag our image over top of the material, and then we can click frame in the software, and that will actually give us a very good placement of our material down on the bottom here. Now, going back over here, remember one of the things I said is this thing is loaded with safety features. So right here is an on and off switch. Then we've got two other features here on top. This is an emergency stop. If there's an issue that we need to do something fairly quickly, you just push it down like that. And as you can see, the light went out, it shut off the power. To re-engage it, all we have to do with this is simply twist and it pops up. And now our power's back on. But the other really cool part with this is you can really control who accesses or is able to use this laser engraver, because there's a key here. And with this key, all you need to do is turn it like that, off, and pull the key out. And it comes with two of these keys. Okay, they're fairly standard keys, almost like ones from a pop machine, for those of you who remember that. And as soon as that key is taken out, it doesn't matter what you do, nothing will work. So in order for this to work, you have to put it in and you have to turn that key on. So if you really want to control who's using this, that is a great thing to have. Okay, now let's look at a couple of other things that this has before we start getting some printing done. First of all, right on this corner, see we've got this hose here, and then we've got a cord, and then we've got a dial that goes up and down, plus and minus. All of this right here controls your airflow, your air compressor. And an air compressor, which is, if we feed it back, it is right over here. That compressor is important to have because that compressor blows air into the actual laser itself to keep the laser lens clean. So if we look right here, we've got two lines coming in. This is our power line for the laser. This is our air. And the air feeds all the way along, goes all the way through the system, around here and down and back to the front. And that air compressor over here is completely controlled by either this dial on the side, or it's controlled by the actual software itself. So it is really, really cool. So it blows the air in, and down here is where our laser lens is. So it blows air in there to keep the laser lens clean, so that way we have a good solid beam of light coming out. Right? This is a diode laser, so we do want to make sure to keep that clean. The compressed air typically, more often than not, will be turned on a little bit higher when you're cutting because you're using more power. There's more burning, more smoke. When you're doing engraving, you have to be careful not to add too much air because then it can cause it to overburn. So if you remember, one of the things I mentioned about this is that this drawer comes out, and in the event that you want to engrave something that's going to be higher or thicker, whatever it is, and this drawer is going to be in the way and we have to bypass that safety, the other thing that we're going to have to do is we're going to have to lift the laser engraver up in order for whatever the object is to fit underneath. So Creality makes these really cool, simple, and cheap risers. And for these risers, it's simple. This unit comes with the rubber feet on the bottom, and then the riser kit gives you 1, 2, 3 tubes to adjust the height. This lifts it up in total around or maybe just over 6 inches. And as you can see, there's a riser under all 4 legs. Now, for myself, I leave these risers up all the time because this laser engraver still works perfectly, even with the drawer in, with the risers in. And it allows me to store stuff underneath it. But also at the same time, in the event that I want to do something thicker, I don't have to worry about lifting up this entire machine just to put these extenders in for one project. So it's really handy there. But it's also cool for storing lots of other stuff. Let me show you what one of those things are. Okay, so this next accessory is one that I was really, really excited about getting. And Creality sent this out to me as well. They have been absolutely awesome. Their customer service is amazing. So you definitely need to make sure that you go and check them out. Okay, let me show you what it is. All right, and here is the big reveal. They sent me the Creality Rotary Kit Pro. And this thing it's very unique in its purpose. It's intended for tumblers and that sort of stuff. The packaging that it comes in is absolutely amazing. And I'm actually going to be holding on to this box because I'm going to use this box to lift this rotary up when I want to use it. So remember I said I like the storage space underneath. I mean, look at that. It fits like a glove. Now let's look at this thing here. Okay, so this is the Rotary Pro. Now, first thoughts on this, it's heavy because this is solid metal, perhaps a mixture of aluminum and steel, but this thing is solid as a rock. And this is it's called a chuck type of rotary, and the reason for that is because you have this here that you spin, and as you can see, it draws those jaws in to and from, and these are rubber coated as well. And this locks it in place, but of course you can unlock it and then like this, and then you can see it start to spin. So we'll unlock it a little bit more, and like it's got a lot of free movement. Of course, this is powered, so it's really, really smooth when it's working. So we're gonna lock that back just in place for now. So really cool thing because you can just tighten it or you can loosen it. Now on this end, we've got a piece that slides in these two basically T-tracks. So I'll slide it out. That way you can have a look. So this is all it is. There's not much to it. There's a little bit of a suction piece on here, and it's a spring-loaded screw. So if we go like that, it pushes in. You can see that screw pushing out. The idea behind this piece is you lock your set in the jaws, you scroll this, you slide this over, push it up against the center, and then using the pin in the middle at the bottom, you're going to thread that down. And then your piece here is going to be solid between being held by the jaws and then by this piece at the end. So this is a super cool attachment. It comes with one cord right here, just like that. Now, there is a bit of a downfall to this. When you're plugging this into the laser engraver, at least on mine, there is no dedicated spot to plug in a rotary. So what you actually have to do is, and I'm going to show you this here. So there's a motor that moves this out and back in, okay? And that motor is actually located right here. Now, in order to plug in the rotary, you have to disconnect this wire right here on that motor and then plug it into the rotary motor. So is it a deal breaker? No. But given that this is the Rotary Pro and it's a Pro Engraver, I really do think that there should have been a dedicated spot. But not a big deal. Okay, now before we get to engraving our project, I want to show you something else here that I really think is essential when you're going to have a laser engraver, because it comes with all sorts of parts and whatnot, and it's a good idea to have somewhere to put them, but to make sure you got the right tools with you in order to do the job. So let's have a look. All right, so beside my fume extractor, I've got this little toolbox I may have found at a big box store. It's not incredibly big, but it's one of the cutest toolboxes I've seen because it's built like an actual toolbox with a drawer, and then it's got a lid that opens this way. But let me show you this kind of stuff that I keep in here. And also, these are some tips on essential things that you should have for a laser engraver as well. So I'm going to open this up. And a lot of this is going to depend on the project that you do. But I've got a little miniature hammer that I keep in here just in case. I always keep a small multi-screwdriver depending on the project I'm going to be doing. This here is an essential piece that is required for a Creality laser engraver. So when you're using a laser engraver, you have, because it's a laser light, you have to focus the lens to whatever the material is going to be. So I'm going to try and zoom in on this. This gives you an idea as to the distance the laser needs to be above the piece in order to cut or engrave properly. So if we're going to be cutting something thicker than 6 millimeters, well, then we need to have the laser this far away from our piece. If we're going to be engraving something that's only, or cutting something that's 1 to 3 millimeters, we're going to want to make sure that lens is this far away from our piece. So literally in spacing this, you're just resting this on top of the piece. You move the laser over top, you loosen the set screws, you drop it down until it touches, tighten it back up, and then you take this thing and you toss it in your toolbox. That's it. So now the other thing that I have a habit of doing is, so I keep instructions and everything for these machines. They all stay in here. I always keep a little ruler like this, just in case I need it. I have this ruler here, which is actually one that came with the Rotary. And well, it works great. For the most part, when you're setting up a rotary in the software, you're measuring this way. You're not measuring the overall diameter. That's what the settings in Lightburn wants. So this is great to have, but not always necessary. This is an accessory kit that came with the rotary tool. So those little rubber tabs on the chuck, they can be unscrewed, and these ones can screw in. And on the end here, it's got these little balls. So let's say you want to do Christmas ornaments like Christmas balls. Well, you can put them in there, take the jaws out, put these in their place, and it'll actually hold that piece. Also, the laser engraver itself, and this is an important one, I think, came with this little brush. This brush is to clean out the inner part of the lens and the lens casing, just to keep it clean. Now, going down here to this little drawer, I've got a few other things. So this is a toolkit that came with the laser engraver. This is spare screws and a cloth here, I assume for wiping the lens, a little pair of tweezers. It also came with this here, so a USB. As with most Creality products and a lot of other brands as well, I suppose, they use cards like this where you can transfer whatever file you want to cut or print or whatever it is directly to one of these. And then plug this directly into the laser engraver as well. My preference, plug it right into the computer. It's a lot easier. And then, of course, there's Allen keys, there's wrenches, there's all kinds of stuff that comes with this equipment. Now, the other thing that I did, I purchased a backup set of these shut-off switches or travel limit switches. I can't remember exactly what they're called. These are present in most Creality 3D printers, also in Creality laser engravers, and the little tabs of metal that are on these things, they just push in when the boom arm or whatnot hits them.
little metal tabs can break off easily. So I have about, I think it's 3 or 4. I think there's 3 of them in here actually. I've never had to use them yet, but I keep them here in the event that something does go sideways and I have to replace one of those. So overall, like, it's just, this is not something you have to have, but having a little toolbox like this to keep all your stuff in is a great idea. Okay, now another tool that I think is a real essential piece of having a laser engraver is a digital caliper, just like this. Okay, and there's a reason for it. When you're using the software typically measures everything in millimeters. And so let's say I've got this little piece of dowel in here, and we're going to use this for our project. But I need to cut a hole in my piece that's going to be the exact same diameter, so this piece will fit in snug. What I can do is I can put this into my caliper like that. And then once I'm pressed up against, I can see right now it's set at 3.27 millimeters, kind of bouncing back and forth between 27, 28, 29, so maybe in between. What this means is that if I'm going to cut a hole in the software, that now that I have the diameter of this piece, I'm going to go into the software and I'm going to set up the circle to be the exact same diameter as this. So you can actually get some really, really precise measurements as well. I mean, of course, the other thing is you can measure inner diameter, outer diameter, and you can use these for measuring depth as this kind of slides in and out. So this is something that I would say is essential and very, very handy to have on a laser engraver. Okay, so we now have our laser framed, we have our project up, and we're set at 240 millimeters per minute with 100% power. So we're going to go ahead and turn this on. You're going to hear the fan come on, the ventilation system. We're going to turn the dial, turn that on as well, and let's get this done. All right, so our cut is done. All in all, took just over 10 minutes for this laser engraver, as you saw, to cut through 1/4 inch thick solid cherry. So now is the moment of truth. We're going to take our piece out of there. And we're going to see, did this cut all the way through? So let's have a look. Well, I would say that's a pretty good sign. So have you figured out what it is yet? Because if you haven't, we're going to get to building this project, putting it together, and calling it done. All right, so I'm here with my my son, and we are going to assemble this thing. Now, assembly for this is actually pretty simple. We've got 3 pieces of 1/8 dowling. We've got some rare earth magnets, and then we've got all of our pieces here that we just cut out, and these can be finished off afterwards. And then we're also going to use a little bit of CA glue with some activator to hold this in place. And this is going to be something that is functional, something that moves. All right, so we're going to set those pieces aside. Okay, so the first thing that we need to do with these pieces is we need to take 4 magnets. I'm going to slide them off, and these are really, like, I mean, sticky. Well, not sticky, magnetized. So we're going to have to separate them. Just like that. The idea is that these are going to kind of stick together like that. That's the idea behind it. And the magnets are going to sit here, 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 and here. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with some dabs of just very, very light dabs of CA glue. And then we're going to get these magnets in place. So, buddy, this part I'm going to do with the CA glue, okay?
Okay.
All right. So we're going to put a dab. Okay. Hold that for me. Okay, and then we're going to slide it in here. Like so-ish. Make sure it's flush. Good. We're going to take some activator. And that one's now good and solid. See how it's going to connect? So now, do the exact same thing with this side. And now, can you tell what it is yet?
I sure can.
Okay. Now, what are we doing next? You tell
Now,
me.
All we
Remember?
have to do, put in the dowels.
Okay,
the
so do it
buttons
here. Okay, so you're going to push one into each. And now what?
Now, just put them into those.
So we're going to take this and we're going to slide this one over top of there. I'm going to slide this one through this hole over top of there. Okay, what's next?
Grab the other button.
Okay,
Mhm.
all right, so we got to do that part. So this part is going to glue to our top. So we do the same thing. Okay. Now what?
Now, grab the button.
Okay. You might want two hands. Okay. So there's one, two, and so you don't want to push too hard because these are very small dowels. Did you get? Oh, it's a little stuck on that other one. There we go. Okay, so let's slide that all the way down. All the way. Okay. So that is what you end up with. So we're going to take these dowels and we're going to kind of push those all the way through. So as you can see, it's got a hinging motion like that. Okay. That's the motion to it. There we have it. Buddy, why don't you tell them what this is?
This is a replica of a full-scale Arkham series Batarang.
Batman. And how cool is that? Look at this. Like, it's so simple, but like, you go like this, it flicks up. You go like this, it flicks down. That's what the magnets do. It holds it in place. And these are a little bit looser, only so they don't squeak. And there's not as much resistance. All right, so I really hope that you enjoyed this project. That's not what I traditionally do. And I've been really wanting to do a video on this laser engraver. And this thing's made out of cherry. So it's super cool. If you want to know more about it, or if you're interested in a laser engraver, I'll put some information down in the description below for this Creality 22-watt Falcon 2 Pro, which is by far the best laser that I have come across yet.
If you're interested in more information and maybe another video on using the actual software and setting up in the software the laser engraver, if you need help with that, let me know. I have gone through and learned the entire thing through trial and error. And I mean a lot of error. But it works beautifully now once you get used to it. So let me know down in the comments below if you'd like to see a video on that. Anything else you want to add, buddy?
Nope.
No? Happy we did this one?
Yeah, I guess.
Good. Well, that's it for today. Thanks very much for watching. And until next time.
Happy cutting.